right to their tables. Our humidity-controlled cold storages have a capacity of over 800,000 kilograms, enabling us to maintain stringent quality standards right up to delivery. A quality that the nation has come to expect of all Nelna products. Nelna's professional and skilled workforce is dedicated to consumer satisfaction, driving the backbone of our operations and guaranteeing the excellence of our products. A network of over 5,000 retailers support our mission and drives the Nelna brand to consumers, leading supermarkets and top-end tourist hotels throughout the country. With a keen understanding of market forces and purchasing power, our research and management teams have diversified our product portfolio into a variety of chicken products that empower every consumer from all market segments to access the power of high-quality protein nutrition. We have diversified our product portfolio even further by incorporating the manufacture of chicken sausage products that meet the market demand for high-quality processed chicken meat. Nelna sausages are produced with fresh poultry sourced from our own farms and do not contain artificial flavors, additives or enhancers. With our fresh taste, high quality standards and best practice benchmarks, we have earned the trust and admiration of consumers, business partners and stakeholders alike. Nelna's pursuit for excellence has earned us international acclaim, awards and recognition, certifying the commitment to quality that Nelna is synonymous with. We are now on the verge of becoming Sri Lanka's most trusted and preferred chicken and processed poultry brands. A vertically integrated, ever-expanding, 100% Sri Lankan brand. Our pride is in our objective. Our objective is nourishing the nation.
The Three Singha Group of Companies celebrates half a century of technical excellence. Three Singha has earned customer confidence and trust with the manufacture of over 200,000 doors, an innovative range of products for the home and the office, trailblazing with new technologies to bring you environmentally friendly products to enhance your lifestyle, such as solar power and at the right price. ISO certified with 5S systems in the factory. Three Singha, a true leader in roller gate production. Three Singha celebrates half a century of technical excellence. Tractor bowsers, tractor trailers, fuel tanks, silos and heavy steel fabrication from Three Singha. Call us, 0778656565.
Through the ages of human evolution, one force has driven mankind's logic and creativity in its quest to reach for the stars. A force called protein, the building blocks of the human body. Protein is essential in nurturing healthy communities across the globe. Of all the known types of protein, animal protein is of the utmost significance. Nella Farms Private Limited has taken on the challenge to deliver what we believe is the need of the hour. A healthy society, a wealthy nation. Investing in one of Sri Lanka's largest and most modern poultry manufacturing facilities.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another interesting seminar topic which was organized by seminar committee and workshop, as well as career guidance and skill development. Good evening. As I mentioned earlier, welcome to another interesting topic which we are going to organize with Career Guidance and Skill Development Committee and Seminar, Workshop and Program Committee jointly with Chartered Accountants of Sri Lanka. So in OPA, we have in the past, recent past, we have done a continuous, timely important topics with large scale which is covered with important areas that we need to focus in this country. So this is another timely topic about taxations, new tax reforms, which we all are into a discussion from last 2-3 months. So we have experts today to give the basic idea and to go in deep what, how and why these reforms had happened and how this will be going to influence in our future Sri Lanka. Right. First of all, let me call upon our President, Mr. Dulitha Perera, to give the welcome address. Mr. Dulitha, it's over to you.
Good evening. Thank you, Ruan. I would like to welcome each and every one of you, those who are joining physically here at the OPA auditorium, and also those who are joining online with us. for this joint seminar on latest tax reforms in Sri Lanka. I welcome all the members of the forum, members of the Executive Council of the OPA, past presidents of the OPA, and office bearers, current office bearers of the OPA who are present this evening. And I would like to also recognize the presence of our eminent resource panel, starting off with Atula Ranavira, Managing Partner, Ranavira Associates, and Ascent Advisory Partners Private Limited. Mr. N.R. Gajendran, Founder and Partner of Gajma and Company. Mr. Suresh Pereira, who is not an unfamiliar face to all of you, Principal Tax and Regulatory KPMG. And representing the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Sri Lanka, in place of the President, Mr. Sanjay Bandara, we have Tishan Subasinghe, who is the Chairman of the Faculty of Taxation of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Sri Lanka, who had graciously accepted our invitation and come this evening. I would also like to recognize the presence of Amila, who is going to moderate this session today, and recognize the presence of the two vice presidents who were instrumental in organizing this joint seminar with the Institute of Chartered Accountants, Engineer Ravi Rupasinghe and Engineer Saman Kandaniyarachchi. I must also recognize the presence of the board of Three Singha, and also the MD and the directors of NELNA, who had come forward in sponsoring. I would also recognize the presence of media personnel this evening, who is going to cover this event. And talking about this topic, I think you have the best people who can talk about this topic in the country available at OPA today to elaborate on how important it is and how taxes can be used as a tool, as a fiscal tool. So I'm not an expert in that area. I'm not going to talk much about it, but I'm sure it's going to be a very interesting evening where you would be able to clear most of the doubts you may have on some of the taxes that had been introduced recently, as well as some of the taxes that are already prevalent in our country. So without much to do, I will just hand it back to Ruan to do the introduction of the other speakers and proceed with the session. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. I hope today we have full house, and even most of the people are joining online as well. So let me call upon our chairman at the Career Guidance and Skill Development Committee of OPA, Engineer Ravi Rupasinghe, to give the introduction of today's program. Engineer Ravi Rupasinghe, it's over to you.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Engineer Ravi Rupasinghe, Chairman of the Career Guidance and Skill Development Committee. Actually, as in the OPA, in the Career Guidance Committee, we decide with the actually, we thought we want to address that important topic where people are very important, people are very essential. Normally, in the Career Guidance Committee, we have aim to give the advice or the career guidance for our members as well as the school leavers, university and so on. But basically this one we thought we want to share our knowledge, share our expert knowledge with our members. So in that topic we invite Chartered Institute, Chartered Accountants, Sri Lanka to come and share with their knowledge with our team, with our professionals. Okay, in that case we invite all the high profile speakers, eminent people to come and give their views. Main aim is that topic is, do you know that right now the country is facing very crucial situations. There are many reasons. The one reason is, you know, that many years, that means years back, government introduced some taxations. That also affect in order to come to that situation in the country. Taxes are very important. So because of that, we thought we have to do some joint seminar in association with the Chartered Accountants. But in that case, as we are professionals, we can give their input, we can exchange our knowledge. But this is the good platform to exchange our knowledge, exchange our views with our teams, with our professionals. So this topic is mainly involved with our professionals. Taxes are very important. Tax reform is very important. So we can educate latest tax reform with our professionals. Here we can see that we got many numbers of requests with that hot topic, but we have to limit the people. But there are some people from online as well. We got several calls saying that you have selected the good hot topic, and this is the what we have to do from the OPA. Without taking much time, I would like to hand over that to our computer to handle it. I expect all your any what is called cloud or any problems you can negotiate with our team, with our speakers. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chairman, Career Guidance and Skill Development Committee of OPA, Engineer Ravi Rupasinghe. I guess all of you all got a brief introduction about what we're going to speak today. So, as we all know, now most of even our president as well as one of our vice president talk about what sort of situation that we are in Sri Lanka at the moment. So we have the eminent number of people here to give you the solution, and as professionals, what we need to take to the society, how this can be resolved through tax reforms. So let me call upon our Vice President, Skill Development Workshop and Program Committee, Engineer Saman Kandane Arachi, to introduce the moderator.
Thank you, Engineer Ruan Rapogama, Doctor. So, as a seminar chairman committee, this is our 8th seminar, and the joint seminar as one of the objective with the Chartered Accountants of Sri Lanka. So, let me thank all for you who joined for this physically as well as online for this seminar. So, members of the table, past president, and members of the EXCO, members of the forum, and dear friends. Let me introduce about the moderator. Moderator is none other than our good member of the OPA, is Mr. Amila Sugatapala. He is a member of the Executive Council of the OPA and fellow member of the Chartered Institute of Sri Lanka, and also a member of the shipbrokers. He obtained his BSc in Business Administration from University of Sri Jayawardhanapura and hold MBA. So I would like to invite Mr. Amila Sugatapala to deliver the moderate speech. Over to you, Mr. Amila Sugatapala.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. As per the agenda, we need to go for the keynote speech. First of all, let me have a brief introduction to Tishan Subhasinghe. He is a fellow member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Sri Lanka, fellow member of the Certified Management Accountants, Bachelor of Laws from the Buckinghamshire New University, MBA in Finance from the University of Colombo, gold medalist. Currently he is a council member and chairman, Faculty of Taxation, CS Sri Lanka, council member, University of Moratuwa, managing director of Moore Consulting Private Limited, joint managing partner of Moore and Iyer, chairman, Sanasas General Insurance Company Limited, Director Amana Bank PLC, and Director Kapruka Holdings PLC. I don't want to take much time. You can listen to Tishan. I hope that he will add a different dimension for today's discussion. Over to you, Tishan.
President of the OPA, Mr. Dulitha Pereira, CA Sri Lanka representative to the OPA, member of the OPA Council, Mr. Amila Sugatapala, council members and the members of the organizing committee, members of the head table, speakers for the day, Mr. N.R. Gajendran, Mr. Atula Ranavira, Mr. Suresh Pereira. They are the maestros in the taxation profession, and it's my honor to do this keynote speech in their presence. Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, let me thank the President and all office bearers of the OPA for inviting me to do the keynote address today on behalf of the CA Sri Lanka and particularly the Faculty of Taxation. The eminent expert panel will take you through the latest tax reforms, and therefore I am not going to go through the technical aspects of the subject. In my keynote address, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to direct your attention to some other aspects for which we as professionals need to give due consideration. When we look at the fiscal policy framework, the IMF staff level proposals, and the statements made by the people in authority, there's no doubt that we are heading towards a higher tax regime. Well, it is understood that the government revenue will have to be increased to cease continuing with the money printing and other connected repercussions. However, we should not forget to speak about the taxpayers' rights also in the given backdrop. At the moment, the direct tax to indirect tax composition is an area of concern. I'm sure that when you read through newspapers, even yesterday, Sunday Times, when I was reading, I saw a newspaper article. Revenue from direct and indirect taxes are approximately at the rate of 20% and 80% respectively, approximately. It is expected to make the equilibrium at 35% of direct taxes and 65% of indirect taxes. This has been discussed, deliberated for many years, but still we don't see much improvement as to the composition. In a context where the income from indirect taxes are increased recently, there will be a huge burden on the identified segment of taxpayers where the direct taxes are imposed. In this regard, comparison has been made with the statistics of the other countries, especially the developed countries, direct taxation to indirect taxation composition. Some speak about the possibility of bringing in the wealth tax. When I did my search, ladies and gentlemen, I found only 4 countries are there where the wealth tax had been imposed, namely Switzerland, France, Norway and Spain, where the infrastructure and facilities are of no comparison to ours. This uncertainty created over last couple of months has created some kind of phobia among the genuine taxpayers, and I worry whether it would put us at a disadvantage in the medium to long run. There is no doubt that the tax revenue must be increased. Government revenue should be able to absorb the government expenditure, minimizing any budget deficit, and if not, it could lead to money printing, increased interest rates, inflation and many other connected issues. However, alternatively, any deficit can also be minimized, reducing the government expenditure by eliminating inefficiencies. Inefficiencies in fiscal management and running certain state-owned enterprises. For instance, 85% of the tax revenue is spent in paying the government employees' salaries. Then the question to ask is whether, as a nation, we are getting the expected service from them. We all know how difficult it is to get something done at a government institution without wasting time and resources. I term resources instead of using some other term in a polite manner. However, there could also be exceptions to this general perception. The substantial losses from the CPC, Sri Lankan Airlines and many other institutions absorbs the taxpayers' money without a productive outcome, ladies and gentlemen. It is my belief that the taxpayers' rights are violated if the collected taxes have not been put into effective use. That's why today I just thought of speaking of taxpayers' rights in demanding good governance in fiscal management. In the given backdrop, as professionals as well as taxpayers, we need to be cautious about 2 aspects going forward. One is politically motivated decisions without proper analysis. Example, in 2019, the tax reforms on VAT, payee and withholding taxes. The taxes that could have been collected easily through agents had been lost by trying to fulfill an election promise of reducing taxes. This caused further trouble by not being able to correct it due to aftermath COVID situation. The second is the most damaging one, which should kill the spirit of a taxpayer. The decision made with vested interests. Example, the so-called sugar scam, which was alleged to have been crafted based on lifting and again reimposing special commodity levy in such a way to pass on some undue benefit to an intended importer. I'm sure you would have read many newspaper articles, you would have listened to many TV media news items. There's enough information publicly available and with respect to this, and therefore I'm not going into technical aspects of how it was done. There's no doubt that the decisions without proper analysis, with a political motive, and decisions with vested interest would lead to corruption. And today, from the IMF to World Bank to many international agencies, openly give reference to corruption in our country. The era of ridiculing the positions taken by such international agencies behind the veil of sham, nationalism and fake patriotism need to be put aside. We professionals are also to be blamed for the dire state of our motherland today. We have given an easy go to politicians and the executive and administration. No more, ladies and gentlemen. Passive inaction of professionals and unsteadiness of the civil administration cannot be endured anymore. Citizens through the Right to Information Act in terms of obtaining information for better transparency. We can seek judicial remedies using the fundamental rights framework provided through the Constitution of our country. If we feel our rights are violated by putting the tax money into imprudent use, by taking decisions with vested interest or for cheap political glory, etc. We must learn from what we have omitted to do and correct ourselves and move forward in the best interest of our motherland that you and I love. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Tishan. Thank you very much for those remarks what you made. I think about this taxpayers' rights may be another topic to Saman and Ravi going forward, may be interested area you may be able to touch upon, right? Yes, in 2019, we reduced the VAT and then the income tax, personal income tax and the corporate income tax, right? And we gave so many incentives, but did we achieve our target? As per the records, it says that we lost about 600 billion to 800 billion revenue for the government from those acts what we did. So anyway, we can discuss this thing very much on during the Q&A. Next speaker, Mr. Atula Ranavira, he will take us through most of the latest tax reforms in Sri Lanka in a detailed manner. Let me give a brief introduction to Mr. Ranavira. Mr. Ranavira is a member of Institute of Chartered Accountants of Sri Lanka, fellow member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Sri Lanka and Institute of Certified Management Accountants of Sri Lanka and the Institute of Accounting Technicians of Sri Lanka. He also holds honours degree in business administration from the University of Sri Jayawardenepura. He has more than 45 years of experience, and he is serving as the independent director in a few public companies, where he also chairs the audit committee. He is the managing partner of Ranavir Associates, Chartered Accountants, while serving as the managing director of Asset Advisory Partners Private Limited. So, without taking much time, Mr. Ranavira, may I invite you for your presentation, please.
Good evening, everybody. I'll directly enter into my subject, my role of duty today. Now, as we know, recently, during last couple of months, there were several tax changes in Sri Lanka, which includes certain changes announced for income tax and certain changes already legalized for value-added tax and certain changes newly introduced social security contribution levy. Today we will discuss mainly on those three items. Right. මම හිතන්නේ මීඩියා සුට්ස් අද සහභාගී වෙන නිසා මට පොඩ්ඩක් සිංහලෙනුත් කියන්න සිද්ධ වෙනවා. අපි දන්න පරිදි මෑත අතීතයේ ලංකාවේ ප්‍රධාන වශයෙන් බදු වල වෙනස් කිරීම කීපයක් ලීගලයිස් වෙලා නීතිගත වෙලා තියෙනවා. ඒ වගේම නීතිගත වෙන්න තියෙනවා. ප්‍රධාන වශයෙන්ම ආදායම් බදු, අගේ එකතු කිරීමේ බද්ද, වැට් බද්ද සහ social security සමාජීය ආරක්ෂණ දායකත්ව බද්ද. අපි ඒ ගැන කතා කරමු විනාඩි 30ක කාලයකින්. First we will see what made us to do these changes in income tax laws. The reason is that pure reason is the government wanted more money for their expenses. How it has happened? Now, when the Prime Minister, when the Minister of Finance introduced the budget, interim budget 2022, that is for 4 months period, introduce a budget, interim budget. he highlighted 4 aspects of this. Mainly, he was talking about the country's current crisis, the financial crisis. Then he analyzed the causes for this crisis. In that, he mainly highlighted short-sighted economic practices, business nationalization policies, and poor policies on foreign direct investments. Right. Then, overall solutions to overcome these issues, the overall solution what he has proposed, what he has announced, is to change our mindset to suit with the current world. Right. Then, methods to solve. He announced 2 items: short-term recovery action, what we are taking now. Majority of those things are short-term recovery action. Then long-term national economic policies. Now, only thing, for us to go for long-term national economic policies, first of all, we have to patch up the current situation, current issues. අපි ලංකාවේ ආර්ථිකය ගත්තාම මේ තත්ත්වයන් ඇති වෙන්නේ මොකද්ද මේ ඇයි බදු වෙනස් වෙන්නේ කියන එකට හේතු විදිහට ප්‍රධාන වශයෙන්ම කෙටි කාලීන දෘෂ්ටියක් ඇතුව කටයුතු කිරීම සහ ව්‍යාපාර ජනසතු කිරීම ඒ කියන්නේ පෞද්ගලික අංශයත් එක්කලා නොකිරීමේ හේතු සහ විදේශ විනිමය ලබා ගැනීමේ අපහසුතාවයන් ඒවට උනන්දුවක් නොවීම දැක්වුවා. මේක විසඳන්න ප්‍රධාන වශයෙන්ම කෙටි කාලීන සහ දිගු කාලීන පියවරයන් ගත යුතු බව සඳහන් කළා. අපි බලමු now we will see the depth of this situation. Now in this table the tax revenue to GDP. If you see the tax revenue in Sri Lanka to GDP, in 2019 we had 12.7%. In 2021 it has come down to 8.7%. Right. Then budget deficit. Now the budget deficit in 2019 it was 9.6%, but it has gone up to 11.6% in 2021. The budget deficit is increasing. Then the most important thing is government debt to GDP. Now the government debt has gone up more than the GDP. Now in 2019 it was 87%. In 2021 it has gone to 105%. Now how to survive? That means definitely we have to seek various borrowings from other countries. Right. Then he has highlighted fiscal imbalance, foreign currency shortages and poor credit rating. ලංකාවේ ආර්ථිකය බලපුවාම අපේ ආර්ථිකයේ දල දේශීය නිෂ්පාදිතයේ පහස වැටීමක් විශාල විදිහට දක්නට තියෙනවා පහුගිය කාලේ. ඒක තමයි ප්‍රධාන වශයෙන්ම රජයේ වියදම් දරා ගැනීමේ අපහසුතාවය. මේකට බලපාන සාධක හේතු තියෙනවා ගොඩක්. අපි හැමෝම විවෘතව කතා කරන සාධක හේතු තියෙනවා ගොඩක්. අපි කොහොමද මේක රිකවර් කරන්නේ? අපි මේකෙන් how to needs for recovery. We need a strong fiscal consolidation plan and microeconomic stability. Right. Now we know the gravity of this issue, and government is targeting to have 15% tax revenue to GDP in 2025. Now the tax revenue has come down to 8.7%. Government is expecting to get it improved up to 15%. May not be much practical, but anyway, there has to be a target. Right. In my presentation, I have given a small index like this. I'll move to the next slide. Tax reforms. First, we'll talk about the income tax. Now, when we take the income tax, the government proposed to introduce an income tax change with effect from 1st of October 2022. But unfortunately, though they have proposed, up to now, even the bill is not gazetted. Now that means definitely most of these amendments can't be implemented from 1st of October. Because some of these things they can't backdate. Things like withholding tax, definitely they can't backdate. But some other taxes they might backdate. Right. With that situation, anyway, even they release a bill in next week, it will take another at least 6 weeks for them to legalize it. Now, in these proposals, one good proposal is there, that is to introduce a mandatory tax registration for all resident people above 18 years old. I think this is very, very wise thing. If we can do that, it is a wise thing. සෑම අවුරුදු 18කට වැඩි සෑම වාසික පුද්ගලයෙක්ම බද්දට යටත් කිරීම, රෙජිස්ටර් කිරීම. යටත් කිරීම නෙමෙයි, රෙජිස්ටර් කිරීම. Yeah. Then reduction of personal relief from 3 million to 1.8 million. At present, we are enjoying 3 million rupee personal allowance per annum. They propose to reduce it to 1.8 million a year. That means now 250,000 a month, they propose to reduce it to 150,000 a month. Anybody who is getting more than 1.8 million a year should register and pay the income tax. Then propose now at present we have the income tax rate. I have put in small letters from 1st of January 2020 to date the tax rates. At present, out of the taxable income, first 3 million taxing at 6%, next 3 million at 12%, balance at 18%. That means once we reach 6 million of taxable income, our total tax is 540,000 rupees. It is 540,000 rupees. Now, the things, we will see what are the things what they have proposed. They have proposed to have several slabs, altogether 8 slabs. What are the slabs? First, 1.2 million at 4%, next 1.2 million 8%, then next 1.2 million 12%, then 16%, 20%, 24%, 28%, and 32%. That is the maximum tax rate, current tax rate of 18% will go up to 32%. Now, if we'll see this 6 million level, 3 million plus 3 million. Now, in the slab, we meet 6 million. At 6 million level, at present we are paying 540,000 rupees. In future, we have to pay at that level, we have to pay 720,000. But in the maximum tax rate goes up to 32. No mention about the qualifying payments and reliefs. Reliefs are available only for individuals and qualifying payments are available for individuals as well as companies. Then that means we will be able to, most probably they will not abolish those things or change those things. That means we will be able to enjoy the qualifying payments as well as relief. Under relief, when we are talking about the individual's relief, we know there's one item of that expenditure relief of 1.2 million a year. 1.2 million a year, which covers educational expenses, medical expenses and medical insurances, housing interest rates and all. And various investments in listed companies and the government treasury bills and treasury bonds. Right. Now, they have proposed to introduce these changes with effect from 1st of October, but it won't happen like that. රජය විසින් ආදායම් තනි පුද්ගලිකයේ ආදායම් සහන මුදල රුපියල් මිලියන 3 සිට මිලියන 1.8 දක්වා අඩු කරන්න යෝජනා කළා. ඒ වගේම බදු ප්‍රතිශතයන් 6.12 තිබිච්ච ප්‍රතිශතයන් 4 ඉඳලා 4 ගානේ වැඩි වෙලා 32ක් දක්වා වැඩි කරන්න slabs expand කළා. ඒ වගේම කලින් දැනට 3 million වලට තිබිච්ච slabs 1.2 million වලට අඩු කළා. මේ හේතුව නිසා බොහෝ ප්‍රමාණයකින් තනි පුද්ගලයෙකුගේ ආදායම් බදු ඒ කියන්නේ taxable income එකක් විශාල ප්‍රමාණයක් තියෙන කෙනෙකුගේ විශාල විදිහට ආදායම් බදු වැඩි වෙනවා. කෙසේ වෙතත් qualifying payment සුදුසුකම් ලත් ගෙවීම් සහ නිදහස් කිරීම වෙනස් වෙන බවක් සඳහන් වුණේ නැහැ. Now we'll look into the withholding taxes. This is the biggest blunder what the government did in early 2020. Because when we take payee tax, various other withholding taxes, no collection tax, the collection cost is borne by somebody else. The business entities are bearing the cost of collection. Therefore, it is collection cost-free tax collection by the government. Unfortunately, out of these withholding tax, majority of the withholding taxes they removed, keeping only mainly 3 items on gem and jewelry, gem sales in auction. There's 2.5% tax that is continuing. And some interest income on foreigners' rupee deposits interest income are continuing. Now the government is trying to reintroduce the withholding tax on employment income. Subsequently, they realized the mistake what they have done, but as a result, they introduce a new word instead of payee, they introduce a new word called advanced personal income tax. That advanced personal income tax is not mandatory on resident employees. Only on non-resident employees it is mandatory, other people it is not mandatory. Right. Then government is proposing to make these things mandatory on all employees, residents as well as non-resident, who is getting more than 1.8 million per year of assessment. Then withholding tax on other things. For that they introduce another word the advanced income tax, that is the withholding tax anyway, on various investment income, on interest 5%, on dividend 14%, rent exceeding 100,000 rupee per month 10%, in all other cases 14%. Those are the rates what they are introducing now. Out of these things, now actually these things also to be implemented from debut yesterday, from 1st of October, but they couldn't legalize the thing. Out of these things, the dividend will be a final tax on any person. Dividend will be a final tax on any person. Interest will be a final tax only in the case of individuals. Right? Corporate bodies, they have to take it as a withholding tax and claim the credit. Right. රජය විසින් අත්හිට වූ බදු ඉවත් කිරීමෙන් විශාල විදිහට ආදායම් නැති කරගත්තා. ඒ නිසා දැන් නැවත වරක් එම බදු හඳුන්වා දීමට යෝජනා වෙලා තියෙනවා. එතෙන්දී pay tax, advance personal income tax සහ අනිකුත් withholding tax වර්ග නැවත හඳුන්වා දෙන්න යෝජනා වෙලා තියෙනවා. Now we'll move forward. Withholding tax on service payments. On service payments, they are proposing to reintroduce 5% withholding tax if the payment is exceeding 100,000 rupees per month. Then relief on interest income for senior citizens. Now earlier we had a relief on senior citizens interest income up to 1.5 million. As a result of increasing the personal allowance as well as the tax rates, the government abolished that with effect from 1st January 2020. Now they are reintroducing this. They propose to reintroduce 1.5 million a year. Anyway, we have to wait for the law. Right. Now we'll move to corporate taxes. Yeah. Corporate taxes, the standard tax rates in Sri Lanka is 24%. And we have a concessionary tax rate of 14%. This 24% standard tax rate, they are proposing to increase to 30%. Individuals up to 32, corporate bodies up to 30. Then the 14% concessionary rate, they are proposing to increase to 15% by 1%. Then 18% manufacturing rate and 40% higher rate on liquor, tobacco, gambling will continue as it is. Then at present, the dividend paid by a resident company to a non-resident person is totally tax-free in Sri Lanka. Now they are proposing to reintroduce this tax, that is at the rate of 14%. සමාගම් වල සාමාන්‍ය පවතින බද්ද සාමාන්‍ය බදු ප්‍රතිශතයේ 24යි ඒක 30 දක්වා වැඩි කරන්න යෝජනා කරලා තියෙනවා. ඒ වගේම සහනදායී බදු ප්‍රතිශතය කියන 14 15ට වැඩි කරන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා. ඒ වගේම 18 නිෂ්පාදන මත වූ ආදායම් බද්ද සහ 40 මත්ද්‍රව්‍ය සිගරට් බෙටින් ඇන් ගේමින් වගේ දේවල් වල තියෙන බද්ද ඒ විදිහටම පවත්වාගෙන යන්න යෝජනා කරලා තියෙනවා. ඒ වගේම විදේශිකයින් මත දැනට ඩිවිඩන්ඩ් සම්පූර්ණ බද්දෙන් නිදහස් කරලා තියෙන එක නැවත නැවත හඳුන්වා දෙන්න යෝජනා කරලා තියෙනවා. Now we'll continue the IT holidays. Now as per our Inland Revenue Act, government introduced specially with effect from 1st January 2020, they introduced lot of income tax exemptions. Now, out of these exemptions, some of the exemptions they are proposing to remove. There are few items what they are proposing to remove. That is, there's a tax holiday on sale of construction material recycled income. If construction material waste items, if you recycle and sell it the market, you get 10 years tax holiday. They are proposing to remove this. The way they have worded, it looks like that it will be reintroduced with effect from 31st, they will remove with effect from 31st March 2023. Only thing we have to wait for the law. It is not much clear. Then there's a 5-year tax holiday for vocational training, individuals who are following vocational training and starting a business on their own. There's a 5-year tax holiday, that is they are proposing to remove that. Then there's a 7-year tax holiday on boat and ship manufacturing by resident persons. They are proposing to remove that also. Then there's an unlimited tax holiday on letting out of bonded warehouses and warehouses related to offshore businesses. That also they are proposing to remove. Only thing, the date, of course, we have to wait for the date. Next, 5-year tax holiday. There's a 5-year tax holiday on investments or services rendered to communication for construction and equipping communication towers and various services to them. When we get that income, that is totally tax-free in Sri Lanka for 5 years. They are proposing to remove that also. රජය විසින් දැනට හඳුන්ලා දීලා තියෙන බදු සහන විශාල ප්‍රමාණයක් තියෙනවා. ඒවෙන් කිහිපයක් ඒගොල්ලෝ ඉවත් කරන්න යෝජනා කරලා තියෙනවා. Additional deduction on marketing and communication expenses. Now at present, marketing and communication expenses, you can deduct for tax purposes, you can deduct twice. Now they are proposing to remove one item. Then revisiting the definition, now that is with related to these amendments, they will amend the definition of multinational company. That is not much important for us. And then we'll move to value added tax. Now the income tax, none of the proposals of income tax is legalized yet. But under the value added tax, Ministry is authorized to do certain changes with a gazette notification. That means the minister can change the rates. With that authority, Minister has already changed the VAT rate. First, they changed from 8 to 12%, with effect from 1st June 2022. Then again, they changed from 12 to 15% with effect from 1st September 2022. That is already legalized by way of a gazette notification. Then, the threshold for registration threshold. They propose to reduce the threshold of 300 million per annum to 80 million per annum. But it is, the amendment bill is out, but not yet passed in the parliament. Right. Reviewing VAT exemption schedule, certain exemptions they might remove. Then propose to remove the VAT exemptions on condominium residential apartment. Now, condominium residential apartments exempted in 2018, exempted from VAT. Again, they are proposing to reintroduce VAT. Here, the condominium residential apartments, not individual villas. Condominium residential apartments only. The amendment bill, they have bill released. Now, they have to legalize it. Definitely, they can't introduce these changes with effect from 1st October 2022 because there's no law. Right. Then, change of 0% VAT on tourism industry, they increase to 12%. That is already legalized because it's a rate change from 0% to 12%. Right. Now, Rajay, මම හිතන්නේ කරගත්ත ලොකුම එක මෝඩකමක් තමයි මේ VAT rates අඩු කරගත්ත දේ. ඒක පියවා ගැනීම සඳහා VAT rates වතාවන් දෙකකදී වැඩි කළා 15 තිබිලා 8ට අඩු කරපු එක 8 ඉඳලා 12ට වැඩි කළා ජනවාරි 1 වෙනිදා ජූනි 1 වෙනිදා ආයෙ ගමන සැප්තැම්බර් 1 වෙනිදා 12 ඉඳලා 15ට වැඩි කළා. ඒ වගේම ඒක දැනටම ලීගලයිස් වෙලා තිනවා. ඒ වගේම ටුවරිසම් ඉන්ඩස්ට්‍රි වල 100ට බිඳුවේ බදු ප්‍රතිශතයේ 112 බදු ප්‍රතිශතයට වෙනස් වෙලා තියෙනවා. දැන් ඒක ඇත්තටම 15 රේට් එක මගේ මෙතන වැරද්දක් තියෙනවා. මේක 12 නෙමෙයි. දැන් අද වෙනකොට 15යි. It is this 12% on tourism, it is 15% now. Right. Then other things, අනිකුත් යෝජනා කරලා තියෙන දේවල්, condominium apartments නැවත බදු කරන එක legal පනත සම්මත වුණාන් පස්සේ තමයි ඒක කරන්න වෙන්නේ. ඒ වගේම සමහර exemptions අයින් කරන එකත් පනත සම්මත වුණාන් පස්සේ තමයි කරන්නේ. Now we will move to social security contribution levy. සමාජ ආරක්ෂණ බද්ධ. Social security contribution levy. Now the act is already passed and it is implemented with effect from 1st of October 2022. The rate is 2.5%. The payment basis and filing of return on monthly basis. Payment monthly basis. Now, in this, liable share of the turnover is given in the second schedule to the Act. The liable share of the turnover. Now, they are the speciality. In the case of, now, there are 4 categories liable for this tax. One is importation. When you import something, if it is a liable type of a thing, at the customs, you have to pay SSCL. Then, that is to be paid on 100% of the value what you are using for VAT purposes. Then manufacturing. In the case of manufacturing, you have to pay this 2.5% only on 85% of the turnover, not on 100%, 85% of the turnover. Then service providing sector to be computed on 100% of the turnover. Then trading sector, maybe wholesale or retail trading sector, if you are acting as a distributor of a local product, then you have to pay 25 only on 25% of the turnover. Only on 25% of the turnover, because the margin is more. Then, if you are in the normal trading activity, other than distributor of local products, you have to take 50% of the turnover and calculate 2.5%. I have given a small calculation calculation out of the liable turnover, suppose the liable turnover is 100 rupee. If we are now this law, there's no input credit like VAT. If you wish to, you can pass on to the next person, or if you wish to, you can hide that amount in the price. There's no prohibition of showing this on the face of the invoice. Therefore, if you wish to, you can show this on the face of the invoice, or you can just pass on to the next person. Right. SSCL way, if you are charging, if you are at the current price, suppose the current price is 100 rupee, this is how you can calculate. Now, you have to pay SSCL even on SSCL. If you are adding the SSCL, if you are passing on the SSCL to your client, you have to add that. Therefore, after adding SSCL, on that value, you have to calculate 2.5%. Therefore, total turnover, liable turnover divided by 97.5 multiplied by 2.5. Then, after adding that, we get the VAT base. On that VAT base, in this 102.56, we can calculate the VAT and get the total price. Or else you can just increase the price. Then the threshold for SSCL registration. SSCL registration, the threshold is 120 million rupees per annum. This 120 million, first we have to take whether we had 120 million during the period 1st October 2021 to 30th September 2022. During that 12 months period, if you have met 120 million, then you have to get the registration immediately. Then in future, suppose you were not meeting, you didn't meet that threshold, then in future, if you will meet 30 million per quarter in future, then immediately you have to go, you have to get the registration. Per quarter, 30 million. Then a few exemptions are given for this, especially these exemptions out of the, if you'll see the exemptions, mainly the export related things. I'm not going to read all these things. Mainly the export related, either direct export, direct manufacture and export, or the supplying to another exporter, or giving export related services, things like that, they have given the exemption. That means basically this is a domestic consumption tax. We shouldn't pass that tax to a person who is consuming in abroad. Right? That is the principle behind that. Right. Now, out of these exemptions, especially the export related things are there. Then business registered with Tourism Development Authority, where the payments are receiving in foreign currency. Because if we are not competitive enough in the tourism industry, then our tourists might, the tourists who are seeking to come to Sri Lanka might go to other countries. Therefore, we are not going to charge, we are not charging on tourism, tourists. Right. Then special commodity levy, liable items are not again taxing under SSCL. Now there are various items where there's a separate tax, special commodity levy. In certain cases percentage, in certain cases on number of on numbers and all. Now this special commodity levy, if there's any item which is subject to special commodity levy, then it is exempted. When you are reading this special commodity levy exemption, you better read alone with the Sinhala one, because the language is not much clear in the English one. It's double meaning. Right. Api then kata kale සමාජ ආරක්ෂණ බද්ධ සවිලියන්ද 2.5යි ඔක්තෝබර් 2022 ඔක්තෝබර් 1 වෙනිදා ඉඳලා ක්‍රියාත්මක වෙන්නේ. ඒක monthly තමයි අපි ගෙවන්න ඕනේ. ඒකෙදී පිරිවැටුම එක එක නිෂ්පාදක එක එක items අනුව ඒ කියන්නේ import කරනකොට 100%ක පිරිවැටුමක්, ඒ වගේම service sector එකට 100%ක පිරිවැටුමක් මත ගෙවන්න ඕනේ. නිෂ්පාදනයේදී පිරිවැටුමෙන් 85%කට විතරයි ගෙවන්න ඕනේ. වෙළඳාමේදී distributor කෙනෙක් වෙනකොට local බඩු 125ක් මතයි ගෙවන්න ඕනේ. other traders ලා 50ක් මතයි ගෙවන්න ඕනේ. ඔබට අවශ්‍ය නම් ඉන්වොයිස් එකේ මේක පැහැදිලිව පෙන්නලා ඊළඟ පාටි එකෙන් අය කරගන්න පුළුවන්. එහෙම නැත්නම් ප්‍රයිස් එක වැඩි කරලා අය කරගන්න පුළුවන්. ඒක දැනටමත් දැන් ක්‍රියාත්මක වෙනවා. මේක ලියාපදිංචි කිරීමේ threshold එක වෙන්නේ 2021 ඔක්තෝබර් 1 වෙනිදා ඉඳලා 2022 සැප්තැම්බර් 30 වෙනිදා කියන අවුරුද්ද ඒ කාලය තුල මිලියන 120කට වැඩි ටර්නෝවර් තිබිච්ච අය සහ ඉදිරියේදී කාර්තුවකට මිලියන 30කට වැඩි ටර්නෝවර් එකක් තියෙන අය තමයි මේකට යටත් වෙන්නේ. මේකේ පොඩි කැල්කියුලේෂන් එකක් මම දීලා තියෙනවා එක එක්කිනාට මේ අතන දාපු දෙයම තමයි this is a small calculation which I have done depending on now in the case of manufacturing now turnover 85% on 85% only we have to apply this. Then importers 100% likewise we can apply. Right. In order to save time, I'll move over to next two items. Those are very small things. I won't take much time. Telecommunication levy has already introduced. Now, in 2019, they reduced the telecommunication levy from 15% to 11.25%. Again, with effect from 1st June 2022, they again increased to 15%, which is in operation now. Right. Telecommunication levy එක 2019 අඩු කරා 11.25 දක්වා ඒක නැවත 15 දක්වා නැවතත් වැඩි කළා. Next item, betting and gaming levy, that is also already introduced. Part of that is already introduced. Increasing the annual levy, there are three types. The annual levy on business of gaming from 200 million to 500 million. Then increasing the annual levy for betting, the highest category 4 million to 5 million. If you are carrying out that business through agency network, if you are having agents and if you are the main person, then annual fee 4 million to 5 million increase. Then intermediary people, agents who are having telecast facilities, they were paying 600,000 rupees a month per annum. It is increased to 1 million per annum. Then if you are running as an agency business without telecast facility, the annual fee 50,000 increased to 75,000. Then in addition to these things, there's a levy on gross collection. That gross collection levy, they increase from 10% to 15%. Then, in addition to these things, with relate to government revenue administration, the interim budget 2022, they highlighted various things. I have included those things in these slides, but after my session, we will share this PowerPoint presentation and another summary with all the participants. We can email it. Right. Therefore, I'm not going to read all these things. Basically, in this administration system, definitely we know lot of weaknesses in their tax administration system. Therefore, government has highlighted three entities, main entities: Sri Lanka Customs, Inland Revenue Department and the Excise Department. These three entities, they are proposing to upgrade the revenue administration system of these things. How they are going to do that? By improving the technology and introducing of various tax audits. Those two are the weapons what they have introduced in this. Then with relate to the customs, Sri Lanka Customs, there's a presidential commission of inquiry and there are proposals given by them, recommendations. Government is proposing to introduce these proposals. Then government is proposing to utilize government immovable properties, mainly immovable property, in addition to the movable properties also, in a productive way. Then introduction of online revenues collection system, that is with relate to the Inner Revenue Department remis system, and likewise these entities are having their own systems. Therefore, government is trying to upgrade those systems. That is very much important nowadays. I think our tax authority senior officers union is also fighting to get strengthen this system. Right. Now, my conclusion. Now, for country's survival, now we have to survive along with the country. And the development, how can the industrialist help? The most important thing for country's development is the increase in gross domestic production. Right? Then, how to, now gross domestic production, that is very much important for us to improve that. Along with that, the taxpayers should pay the correct tax on correct time. I think that's all my presentation. If there are any, only thing I took little extra time, almost 40 minutes or 42 minutes. At the discussion session, we will discuss if there are any questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Anavira, for those detailed presentation. So we'll quickly move on to the next two speakers. What we'll do is we'll allocate 15 minutes for their opening remarks for each speaker, and then we'll move on to the Q&A straight away. Next speaker is Mr. Gajendran. When we asked for his profile, he has just given one line, because he has a lot more to say. Anyway, he's a senior founder partner at Kachma and Company. Over to you, Mr. Gajendran.
Thank you, Amila. I'm reluctant to give my profile these days, not that I have a great one, but I didn't speak out. When they came for the trade unionist, I didn't speak out because I was not a trade unionist. When they came for the socialist, I didn't speak out because I was not a socialist. When they came for the Jews, I didn't speak out because I was not a Jew. But when they came up for me, there was no one left to speak for me. So friends, I think time has come, it has come to you. This is enough of self-seeking and selective and self-interest. All of you have to speak out. I think I was also happy today, Kishan speaking out on certain shonky transactions and deals. I think it has come Dulita, not to have organization, you all also must, as an OPA, make these impressions to speak out, including the Institute of Chartered Accountants. Otherwise, there is nothing going to be left for you. I'm telling you, the way things are coming, there is nothing going to be left for you. We are talking of reforms. There is no reform. Basically, reform is, you try to change the system or practice for the betterment. This slashing, increasing the tax rates and reducing the tax rates is not a reform. That is what is happening now. Reform is, as someone had said, that if you have a concentrated effort to change the tax mix of indirect tax to direct tax, or if you have certain fundamental changes in the policies to target institutional improvements or improvements in practice, that is reform. So increasing the tax rates and reducing the tax rates is not a reform. We have had many catastrophes and crises. Many of them in this country was man-made. I think all the problems, that is what we are facing, similar problems are faced world over, particularly because of the COVID and also because of mismatches in demand and supply. The prices world over has gone up, so that is happening all over the world. But in this country, there are some man-made crises. The government, one of the single most reason that why the earlier government collapsed and even the president had to be a fugitive was instant slashing of the tax rates, and where the government lost almost quarter of its revenue, about 550 to 600 billion rupees in revenue, and that was the one of the disastrous decisions the government made, in addition to overlooking some important issues, what was mentioned earlier also. So if that is one of the reasons, but that doesn't mean, I have a strong feeling that if the government, the way they have increased the rates of taxes, and I will try to explain that in real practical sense, increasing the rates, it's going to face a huge problem. That also can destroy the government, because taxes are unpleasant, ladies and gentlemen. No one wants to pay taxes because your hard-earned money, you don't want to part with that. Money doesn't come easily. If it is not legislated, you will say it is sort of highway robbery. Because it's legislated, you are paying. So if taxes become unbearable, and if it is unaffordable to pay, and if taxes are imposed in a very arbitrary manner, without considering into facts and figures and without going into research and analysis, and if you impose in an arbitrary manner, it will certainly lose its legitimacy. The way the government has lost its legitimacy for various reasons, for disregarding the needs and aspirations of the people. So it will lose when it loses its legitimacy, it's like it's losing its mandate. It's losing its credibility. And when that happens, it is not going to help the government. It is not going to support the government. It will destroy them. You take it from me, it will destroy them. And I'm telling you why, my friends, how it can destroy them is, I'll give you simple analysis. And I have spoken this at some other places also, where it has gone far and deep, the message. We the people are suffering from legislated imposition of tax and unlegislated imposition of tax. The legislated imposition of the tax is what we have heard about, the imposition of tax in the form of direct tax and indirect taxes. Collectively, the indirect taxes, you have 15% and 2.5% on social security levy. But I must tell you, the social security levy contribution is a cascading effect because it is tax on tax. There is no input credit mechanism. It's a cascading effect. So with the minimum of at least one level of cascade in the supply chain, because if you are going to supply something, you are going to buy goods and or procure services to supply. Naturally, when you buy for goods and services, you buy at 2.5% you pay, and when you sell again, you are going to pay 2.5%. For the minimum, the effective rate for on social security contribution levy is going to be 5%. And if it goes, if the supply chain increases, it is going to be every time it goes through a supply chain, it will increase by over 2.6%. So it definitely it will be a cascading effect. So effectively, the cost of rates is 20%. And in the case of a person who is unfortunately enough unfortunate to pay income tax, I think Atula gave you the tax slabs and the rates. You can be sure it's going to be changed. The tax-free, if you hear the word on the street, it is no secret that the tax-free allowance of which was brought from 3 million to 1.8 million will be maybe slashed further. The tax slabs which was brought down to 1.2 million rupees may be slashed further. And before you think where you are, you may be starting to pay income tax even at a higher rate, 32%. That also can go up. This is not for the next budget, even it can be as it is, because everything is being dumped on the taxpayer. But I must justify what I am saying, so I will explain. If you had your inflation, the legislated form of tax is direct and indirect tax, that is 20% indirect tax. And if you are the highest income taxpayer, it will be at the rate of 32%. So you have 20% on one hand, you have 32% on other hand. So that is the unlegislated form of tax is the inflationary element that has been caused because of the rupee depreciation. So if the rupee depreciation almost, it has depreciated almost 100%, 180 at one stage has become 360. So the rupee has depreciated to the extent. Then because of COVID, there are demand and supply mismatches. If you see any product anywhere in the world, the price is almost double of the earlier situation. If it's not only here, even in parties, you can take for example, easy to explain to anyone is take the travel cost. Earlier they said if your ticket fare to UK was 550 pounds, now it's ranging from 800 to 1,200, 1,500 pounds. That means demand and supply mismatch. It doesn't mean that the number of flights have come down, but the people, more and more people are traveling for various reasons, may even out, so it has gone up. So if you have 100,000 rupees before the crisis, that would have been worth 100,000 rupees. Say if you are having 100,000 in your bank account. But now if you have the same 100,000 rupees today, without doing anything immediately because of the rupee depreciation, it has come down 50,000 rupees. And because of the demand and supply thing, it has come to another 50%, it will be 25,000 rupees. You see any product in this country, just check the price that was before the crisis and after the crisis. It's about, if it's twice the time, you're very lucky. 3, 4, 5, 6 times the price. So it has come down. So if you take the legislated form of tax and unlegislated form of tax, the impact is going to be very huge. If you had 100,000 rupees before the crisis, and if you're using that entire money for consumption, and if you are not a taxpayer, income taxpayer, you would have spent 8 rupees for your consumption, and you would have had 92 rupees left behind. But after the crisis, if you are not a income taxpayer, if you are 100,000 rupees, you will spend as much as 20 rupees. That is 15 plus 2.5 cascading to 5 is 20 rupees. So you have 80 rupees. compared to the 92,000 rupees before. But the same 80,000 rupees you have, you lose, it has to be brought down by 50%. Why? The rupee has depreciation, it comes to 40, and you have to bring another 50% in my analysis because of the demand and supply mismatch, it comes to 20. So a guy who had 92,000 rupees before the crisis and who was not a taxpayer will be equal to about 20,000 rupees. Dulita seems to be shell-shocked because most of us don't realize what is happening because we know something is done and we are not able to analyze it. This being it's not a mathematical analysis because there can be inaccuracies and infirmities in my calculation. I'm doing an arithmetic analysis. So if you take a taxpayer, say if he was paying taxes and say he was in the highest marginal rate of tax at 18% before the crisis, he would have 100 rupees would have, he would have 18 rupees would have gone for income tax and 8 rupees for consumption tax. He will have, how much is that? 100 minus 26, 74, right? 74. So that means I have not passed my arithmetic also, right? So if you, so that's the worth of the money at that time. Now, so if he had a purchasing power for 74 rupees. Now you take the guy who has 100,000 rupees as income, he has to pay income tax, say 32%, leave aside anything going, 32%, and then you have 20% on indirect taxes. It is 52%, it comes to 48. You discount it by 50% because of the rupee depreciation, it will come to 24,000 rupees, discounted by another 50% for your demand and supply mismatch, it's 11 rupees. Friends, you must speak out. We are all justifying to increase in the rates because we know revenue that we need it. We can do all that, but first you have to stop shady guys making decision for us, double dealing guys making decision for us, shonky guys making decision for us. If institutional reforms at the top, if doesn't happen, you are going to be too much. And you can see all the young people are just fleeing this country day by day. Even I have, 2 days ago, one of my partners said that some assistant manager or I don't know, pretty not in the higher rang, they are leaving. Then all three of them. I asked him why they are leaving. He said because they are going to another country. They are not got jobs even. I don't want to mention the name. If I mention the name, you will know. They have got to another country without jobs to see better pastures. So, ladies and gentlemen, please do your part. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Gajendran, for these interesting remarks. We'll quickly move on to the next speaker. It is Suresh Pereira, not a stranger to us at OPA. Suresh is a tax partner at KPMG in Sri Lanka, and he's a multidisciplinary professional with over 25 years experience in taxation, accounting, and legal aspects. He is a member of the KPMG Middle East and South Asia Tax Steering Committee. Over to you.
Good evening, everybody. So I have 10 minutes. I know that it's not a long time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to speak on a single topic, just one point that I want to bring out. Tishan, when he was speaking, he spoke about this transaction, the sugar scam, and Mr. Gajendran also brought out this important point about the reforms. So I'm going to speak one important aspect that hopefully that will be captured in the upcoming budget in order to ensure to eliminate corruption in the country. Now, what is this transaction of this thing called the sugar scam? Anybody has? You must have read this about about this in the papers. Auditor General in a report pointed out a particular number, 16 billion or something, and the Human Rights Commission, led by Justice Rohini Marasinghe, recommended that the amount to be recovered. Right. My point is in relation to why this happened and what we should do to prevent it happening again. Right now, there is a reason why this happened. According to our Constitution, Article 148, the full control of the public finance is with the Parliament. Only the Parliament can impose taxes, only the Parliament can increase the taxes, only the Parliament can reduce the taxes, only the Parliament can grant exemptions, etc. It's the Parliament. That is the concept of the full control of the public finance, one element of that. Right. Now, you must have also be familiar with this concept, this tax called, the proposed tax that was not introduced, called special GST. Aware of that? Heard of that? Yes. Yeah, special GST. What's that? That's basically a tax that was proposed to consolidate several taxes into a single tax called special GST. Very good thought. And a bill came out. And when the bill was published in the Gazette, when it was placed in the order paper according to the relevant constitutional procedure, several parties challenged that bill in the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court analyzed the bill and gave the determination. Supreme Court did not even permit any amendments to be introduced and for it to be reintroduced. Supreme Court simply said that it requires a referendum and 2/3 majority, and did not even recommend to make amendments and implement it. Right. So normally what happens is when other bills were challenged, Supreme Court came with certain amendments, proposed certain amendments to rectify and then pass it in the Parliament. Here, Supreme Court refused to take that path also. Right. So now what is the reason for the Supreme Court to reject this bill? Now, as you all know, though the Parliament has the power, we call it, when Parliament makes laws, we call it those primary legislation. In certain statutes, power is given to the minister to come up with what are called the subsidiary legislation or the delegated legislation. So the minister comes up with certain rules and publishes in the Gazette. And the particular section goes on to say that that Gazette should be brought to the Parliament within a specified period, usually 3 months. And then the Parliament takes the vote. Parliament decides whether the Parliament will sanction it or disapprove that. So he also, in the special GST bill also, the minister was given the power to decide the rates. The minister was given the power to decide the exemptions also. And that mechanism, the usual mechanism, where the Gazette specifying the minister's rates and the exemptions to be brought before the Parliament, had this rule to say, if Parliament disapproved that, then from the date of the resolution disapproving it, it's invalid. It is to be valid. But, however, the period prior to that, that is the day the minister issued the order and published in the Gazette, and the date of disapproval by the Parliament during that interim period could be 3-month period. The rate specified by the minister continues to be applicable, valid. The exemption granted by the minister continues to be valid. Right. So now compare that with the constitutional article which says, Article 148, the full control of the public finance should be with the Parliament. Now what happens is, due to this mechanism, during that interim period, the 3-month period, it's the discretion, the minister's rate or the minister's decision with regard to the exemption that prevails over the Parliament's power. Understood? Very simple concept. So the court gave the determination saying that, no, that violates the 148 of the Constitution, also the Article 76 of the Constitution with regard to the power to legislate, and said that it's not allowed. It's not permitted. there are the judgment came on other issues also, the determination came on other issues also, but this is one of the fundamental points. Right. Now, when you look at the Special Commodity Levy Act, what Tishan pointed out, the same structure that we find in the special GST bill is there in the Special Commodity Levy Act. You look at the section 2 of the act. Section 2 permits the minister to come up with the decide the articles on which the special commodity levy will be applicable, sugar, onions or whatever blah 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 essential commodities, and also the rate. And it also gives him the power to revoke the rates as well, and also to grant exemptions. Section 6 of the special GST, the Special Commodity Levy Act. So now, what happened in this scenario was, acting under that particular section, the minister, or on behalf of the minister, somebody changed the rate and also increased, reduced, blah blah, let's say basically change the rates, I use the word change, and created this condition that resulted in this particular incident. Now, why did it happen then? Why did that happen? Because that provision was against the concept of full control of the Parliament's power over public finance. But the Special Commodity Levy Act, which was passed in 2007, which was against the Constitution, was not challenged in 2007. Nobody went to courts. Just in case of Special GST Act, Special GST Bill, people went to courts and challenged. But in 2007, when this happened, nobody went to courts. So it became law. Now, according to Article 80, subsection 3 of the Constitution of Sri Lanka, once a bill is passed in the Parliament according to the relevant procedure, and the Speaker puts his signature certification, then it becomes a law of the land, and nobody can challenge it. No tribunal, no court of law can pronounce on that. So it can be the law. So now, because of that, we have the mechanism that is against the Constitution, that violates Article 148 of the Constitution. They are in the Special Commodity Levy Act, and so without acting outside the control of the Parliament, a minister can change the rates, increase, reduce, do whatever he wants. Now that's against the spirit of the Constitution. So you must have seen there were 4 points. There's a 4-point statement issued by the IMF with regard to approving the 2.9 billion the facility. The 4th point is to create a regulatory framework to eliminate corruption, something to that effect. Right. So my proposal here is, now, if the finance minister is honest, this act must be now amended in the budget, or as quickly as possible, to ensure that the Parliament, the power of the Parliament, or full control of the Parliament over public finance is restored, and Special Commodity Levy Act is in harmony with the Constitution. So that has to happen. I think now courts have no power to do anything about it, but it has to come from the Parliament itself. So I hope the finance minister will do that thing, specifically in the context of this statement coming from the recommendation coming from the IMF. Not only that, somebody will ask from me, how did the VAT rate changed from 12 to 15? There was no amending act that went to the Parliament. Now that is also again because the same, that faulty mechanism is there in the VAT Act also. Now how did that happen? VAT Act was passed in the Parliament in 2002. From 2002 to 2005, always the VAT rate came from the Parliament. But in 2005, if I recall correct, Act number 6 of 2005, Act number 6 of 2005 introduced this section called Section 2A, which empowered the minister to come up with the VAT rate. So there also that same faulty mechanism is there. minister can come up with the rate, and then the gazette should come to the parliament within a period. And if the parliament happens to disapprove that, fine. Then for the future, from the date of the disapproval, it is invalid. But any acts, or rather the rate during the interim period from the date of the order of the minister and published in the gazette and the parliament's resolution to disapprove it, that period, say 3 months, the rate published by the minister is valid. That does not get cancelled. Now there also it goes against the parliament. So both Special Commodity Levy Act as well as the VAT Act should be amended for it to be in harmony with the constitutional provision that Parliament should have full control over public finance. VAT Act is, VAT rate is, we all see what is happening, but the Special Commodity Levy one, I think is a very grave situation. That should be amended, and I think all of us should push for it, because so many things happen in that space unless we take action to prevent that. Because that we don't actually, we tax consultants also, we don't keep, how do I say, monitoring what is happening in that particular Special Commodity Levy Act. We look at the Income Tax Act, we look at the VAT Act, we look at the NBT Act, we look at the Special Commodity Levy Act as well. Right? So that's the major point that I wanted to bring out. There are so many other things I want to speak, but because I have 10 minutes, I think with that I will conclude, and we will go for the Q&A. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Suresh. With those remarks, we'll move on to the Q&A session. What I would do is I will moderate the session from here, questions and questions. Can we have a mic to the head table, please? පළමු අවස්ථාව අපි ලබා දෙන්න කැමති අපේ මාධ්‍ය සගයන්ට මාධ්‍ය ආචරණ නියෝජනය කරමින් පැමිණ සිටින මාධ්‍යයන්ට ඔබගේ ප්‍රශ්න තිබේ නම් ඒ සඳහා අවස්ථාව. So we'll move on, then it's open to the, what will happen is now for the physical participants, they can raise their questions, and for the online participants, we have opened the chat box. Through that chat box, you can raise your question over to the floor. Yes, officer.
Thank you for very enlightened presentations. Now, very recently, one minister has mentioned that Sri Lanka's tax percentage is very much low compared to other countries. And when looking superficially, which is correct, if you take countries like UK or Australia, the tax percentage may go even up to say 50% or even more in the Scandinavian countries. But the other side of the coin is that the citizens get the benefit of those taxation, and for example in the forms of say transport, education, health, so on and so forth. In Sri Lanka, if the tax is increased, what is the guarantee to make sure that the benefit of the increased taxation comes back to the citizens and not to benefit the corrupt politicians or misused? The answer was, I think, partly given in the final presentation, but what's the guarantee?
Can we is there a specific that the question, do you want to raise it to a specific presenter, or shall we
Guarantee depends on you, because you know it is how you are going to structure the reform, where the institutional corruption, the word, it's one is financial corruption, other one is intellectual corruption is prevented. So it is left to you, otherwise they will have a free time again.
Yes, just to add to that, I think yes, now This is one of the most important things. Look, right now, what is the key problem that we have in Sri Lanka? Is it about the constitution? Is it about the taxes? Corruption, correct. That is the problem we have. So we need laws to ensure the corruption is eliminated first. It's not about changing the constitution. It's not about changing the tax rules. It's basically handling the corruption. So we need rules and regulations to ensure the corruption is eliminated. Now the question is, no, I would say basically we need to bring in laws also as well as the execution. The question is, when you want to bring the laws, who's going to pass these laws? Parliament has to do that thing. So will they pass their laws?
Yes, sorry, we'll start with Mr. Kaparatna. Can you please give the mic to him?
I want to ask this question from the main speaker, the keynote speaker, because in your speech you mentioned that one of the main problems in Sri Lanka is the inefficiency and the losses of the our public sector institute or the businesses and corporations and so on. I think that is what our leaders want it to be. Because we have been talking about this maybe for the last 20 or 30 years, but every year the losses are increasing. And at one point of time when our airline was not doing well, it was handed over to Emirates, and they demonstrated how it can be run efficiently, but they got it back and continue to run at a bigger loss every year, I think. So there is no attempt by the authorities to cut down. And also, I guess in some of these organizations, the number of people working is double what is required, right? So people say we must reduce. Do you think is there a move to cut down this staff and make it viable? Is there any move, or is it practically possible? Because once you give employment to your supporters and your friends and relations and so on, and put those people into these organizations, that's the main reason why these numbers are increased. Even if there are no jobs, they say, I'm sending 50 people, take him. So if you are the chairman, you have to take them, otherwise you have to say goodbye to your job. So is there a way that we can, if there are more, I think I heard that the IMF and all, they are putting certain things, but is it possible to do that? What do you think, or is there a move to do that?
Well, thank you very much for that question. Yes, your example, Sri Lankan Airlines, I could remember those days I was working overseas. I used to always travel through Sri Lankan and Emirates, and they used to serve the best food, and now the quality has deteriorated drastically, and I traveled recently. Yeah, the vanity and ego basically converted that profit-making venture into again a loss-making venture, by talk straight. And if you really go through the auditor's report, National Audit Office, the Auditor General's report on some of these state-owned enterprises, there are two types of reports mainly, the short-form report and the long-form report. The Auditor General has reported always the inefficiencies, the sort of issues and suggestions to turn around some of these state-owned enterprises. But then what's the process? The report goes to the Parliament, then you have the COPE. Whether the COPE has got all required powers to take remedial action, other than, I mean, these days, for me, I don't know. I see on television and, you know, some kind of media demonstrations also, but then I believe COPE has to be empowered more to take legal action where required. The Auditor General has to be empowered more to take action, rather than, I mean, other than issuing the auditor's report, and then afterwards the parliament has to take it up. And the parliament, there's a specific committee. Committee doesn't have enough power to take action on the culprits. That's the issue. That's why certain laws and regulations to be. I don't know whether there's genuine interest to empower the court. I mean, these are the things that we need to speak out basically. And I believe the other question, whether these institutions can be turned around, I believe yes. I mean, with public-private partnership arrangements, yes, these institutions can be turned around. There are good examples also. Take Sri Lanka Telecom, how it's been turned around. So likewise, and the other thing is, we may speak all these improvements to be made, but then who basically elects the members of the parliament at village grassroots level? Then when the elections are close by, some of these fractions, they use nationalism, patriotism, everything to seduce people, right? And if public-private partnerships being announced, now at the moment CEB, I think there's a committee being appointed. I hope that some positive outcome would come. I was listening to one presentation by one of the committee members who's involved in this advisory committee. Yeah, that's the thing. So I think we have to educate the people. Now I am from a village, and when I go and speak to the chief prelate of our temple, he would not understand. But I mean, if we explain them in a simple language, what is to be done, etc., because what he says would be believed and followed by the villagers. That's how it works at grassroots level. So as professionals, I think most of us are from our own villages. We have to educate people on these things going forward. So far I have not done that. I wanted to be politically neutral, and most of us, we don't like to we may have our own political ideologies, but in a personal manner we would be making use of our rights. But going forward, no, I think we have to educate people on these issues. It's a responsibility vested in us. I am going to do it personally.
Thank you, Tishan. To Dr. Lali.
Thank you. I like the statement made by Mr. Gajendran, but the responsibility that we have. So all of you said there were foolish decisions as far as the finances are concerned, finance systems are concerned, and auditing everything. So it's become a laughing stock. My question is, so when I look at the head table, out of 9, 6 are chartered accountants, I believe, from finance sector. So who can criticize and who can advise to the government as far as the finances are concerned? So you all are the best people. You all are the best people. What have you done? Right? When the 600 billion loss due to the tax reforms, or whatever the word you call it, he doesn't like reforms, 600 billion loss. What the chartered accountants did, what the OPA did, very good question. Right? So it is continuing. So what is the purpose of having this seminar, the organizing committee, I am asking? Just to educate us? No, we know very well. We know very well, no need to educate us. So what we need is the action. What we need is the action. So chartered accountants and the OPA, we can get together and advise to the government. So then they will have to accept the fact or reject the fact or whatever. The today evening, one of the minister's secretary requests me to advise to the ministry to reduce the staff. They have 600 people, all are inefficient, so they want to reduce. So I said, no, they are not inefficient. So you all also said inefficient people. No, they are not inefficient. You make them inefficient. You make them inefficient. So if they have the duty to do, if they have the proper job descriptions, if they have duties allocated, so they will have to do that. So no allocations, nothing. So I said that particular person, first you make your minister efficient. Then I will join and help you. Otherwise, I don't want to burn my hard-earned house and my vehicles. I don't want to make it burn. So therefore, I don't want. But this is the situation of this country. My request and my suggestion is all chartered accountants and the OP and all that, at least do some. Mr. Gajendran said, so no point to talk. So you will have to make it. We'll have to have some voice, right? So what chartered accountants can do, that's my question.
Can I answer this? Yeah, thank you, sir, for your question. Number one, I don't believe in advising governments. I have also served on presidential commissions to, many other advice. I don't believe in. No, I know. Yeah. So now I think we have come to a situation. I mean, we have given now take 2019 tax cuts. You ask what we have done. In fact, we have inquired. What happened? Well, there was a promise made during the election manifesto. Now, when I was living in the USA, I noted that when it comes to their election campaigns, people speak about policy of the Democrats and the Republicans, but here we don't speak about policy. So that's where we are also as professionals need to do something. When it comes to elections, party politics, we have to highlight these things to the general public. When we inquire, in fact, I mean, even on our personal capacity, we have inquired. So what we were told, look, we have plans. This is how we want to enhance revenue by giving these concessions, FDI, many points. But only thing it was an imprudent decision. But then what happened? Some of those measures that the authorities wanted to take probably would have been hampered with the 2020, the COVID situation also. Like, if you take an open economy, I think I should not mention that. Take the open 1977 when the economy opened. That time the government had plans. In fact, recently I met the that time finance minister, and I categorically asked him, what we are experiencing today in our country, these things could have been avoided had the economy not been fully opened during 1970. It was a question directed to him, but he was telling, no, we had plans, but then plans had to be changed. The projects could not be prioritized with the aftermath issues, like the 83 incident and afterwards the war, and the resources to be directed towards other areas. So circumstances got changed. So that's why I don't believe in giving. I don't believe in advising the authorities. No point. And more than the politicians, I believe the civil servants. So they sometimes they don't like to see things are getting changed based on my personal experience, right? And these things need to be correct. Now, as Suresh said, if there is a bill coming with some imprudent provisions which would be not in the best interest of the public finance or the country, you have to take the stick and go to court. So use RTI provisions, demand more information. I think we have now come to that level. So advising the government, no, I don't think. I don't believe. What kind of force you are referring to?
Can I take that?
That's what we'll have to decide.
Then can I take that?
Yes.
See, now basically the entire chartered accountants community or the lawyers, 18,000 lawyers, cannot be advising the government. So everybody can't advise. You understand? So basically what we have to ask is, what is the framework that is there for making the policies? So let's stick to tax. How are the tax policies made in Sri Lanka? What is the framework that is there? Is the framework correct? If we get the framework correct first, then the policies will also be, the resulting policies will make sense. You see, the problem in Sri Lanka is we don't have a proper framework for making tax policies. How does it happen? The Minister of Finance, people can't go directly to Minister of Finance and they lobby, right, or lobby. So when they start lobbying, you basically make the changes. Now, at one point in Sri Lanka, we had VAT liable for VAT, jewellery exempt from VAT. What kind of rationale is that? Nobody lobbied for milk, somebody lobbied for jewellery. Yeah? So that's how basically the policies are made in Sri Lanka. So now, to come out of that culture, we need to have the proper framework. So what is the proper framework? What I advocate is Sri Lanka should have a national tax council consisting of about 10 people, experts, who will decide the tax policy of the Sri Lanka, short-term policy, long-term policy. Policy should not be changed according to the whims and fancies of the finance minister or the other ministers, not according to the power of the lobby groups also. This body, the National Tax Council, should have a long-term existence, and they should be empowered to take the decisions, the recommendations, and the finance ministry should act on those recommendations. So there will not be exemptions given for racing cars. There is no exemption given for so many of them. I can go with one.
No, I don't want to go around the mulberry bush. You know, we are in a mess, all agree, no? So many things have to be done, that is true. But just I'm suggesting only 2 things that has to be done. If you will get so many things, we will get buried. One, we have to stop corrupt people getting into institutions from the parliament itself, or even if they get in, corruption should be made impossible. So that is the first thing. Everywhere we are talking corruption or malpractice or this thing, that has to happen. If that doesn't happen, nothing is going to happen. This is not only financial corruption, intellectual corruption. Second one is, competent decisions have to be made. Fit and proper people should be made, in position to make decisions. Imbecile decisions we are making, So if these 2 things have been done, for that come from the top. You can't tell the custom people, revenue people, excise people not to be corrupt when the top is corrupt. At your institutions where you are working, the pace is set by you at the top, no. The person down the line can't set the pace, no. He'll follow what you are doing. We are good at saying, do what I say, don't do what I do. Simple. So now the other thing is, what all of us have to do. Little drops of water makes a mighty ocean. Till the last drop is it's not complete. That's what Mother Teresa said. Each one of you all had said the way you have to impress and give your views. Other thing, institutions like the OPA, chartered accountants, or any other institution, on very relevant topics, you have to make public noise. Noise means impressions created. Unless anything reach the media or these people don't listen. No point take it. So you have to create and say, this is not, unless that happens, everything starts at your home. So unless happen, these 2 things to be stopped, do everything possible to stop, otherwise we will end of the day, now it has gone to your skin, it will go to your bone, and that's the end of it.
Problem is, the second one I am in agreement. The first one, I think we will not be able to do that. Select the best people, not selecting corrupted people. Right. So, because the contest, we love to vote for the contestants now. Yeah. Only the corrupted people are contesting now.
All are not corrupt. So don't bring corrupted people.
Okay,
this is where the contradiction is. We say Sri Lanka has 97% literacy, but this is what we have.
Pardon me, one lawyer friend said, he said, Sri Lankans are Modiyas, Gukanna Yodiyas. So unless that we realize that we cannot be fooled every time and that has to be done, we will go. I mean, end of the day, you will have no one. There will be no country if you ask.
Okay, thank you. We will take last 3 questions. They have already raised their hands. We'll go to Mr. Paliyakkara. Please, can you have a mic here, please? Then we'll come to you, Mr. Gale.
Yeah. The first question, I think Mr. Gajendra has already answered about the reforms. I also don't think that there had been reforms as such. You have already answered that one. You know what happened to UK, the new exchequers, what he had done. And also 1991, what the Indian government did with reforms. Now see where they are. Therefore, I think we have fully answered that question. Second question, of course, I make it comment because of the time factor, is about what the central bank governor had said that even today he had mentioned that the professionals are responsible for collection of taxes. You mentioned, Mr. Ishan, about the collection of taxes. There he had mentioned, you can see what he had done, what he had said rather. Then the third one is a question to Mr. Zishan and Mr. Ranavira. You mentioned about the word recovery twice, right? How about the recovery of stolen taxes? Has the government made any special effort to recover? Right? If no efforts, right? And again another comment, again foreign exchange. With these reforms, Mr. Gajendran, can we earn the required foreign exchange? As you say, the business will go down and down, and we can't compete. Therefore, that's also a comment. In the last one, for the time factor, I won't take all these. Now, I want a comment from Mr. Gajendran. Now, 40-year tax exemption has been granted to this port, port city project. What are your views on that? Because FDIs is not only this granting exemptions, there are other factors with such minus negative factors. Can we attract foreign exchange? Especially on this specific question, 40-year tax exemption. Do you agree or not?
No, I don't agree with, in the sense, your tax exemptions is a taboo word now, internationally also. You can give limited exemptions. I'm not suggesting that even at this point of time, but what happens is the exemptions we are given have outrun the lifespan of the project also, lifetime of the entity also. This is not the first time, right? So, but we must make expenditure based, which is not done. Now, as you said, sir, why should anyone come do business here? If you are going to impose tax like this, there must be value drivers identified, like training, research, investments, going green. So you must have expenditure-based investments and reliefs. If you invest, if you spend money on certain lines, you must be given them relief. More than the legal expenditure, you have to claim more for tax expenditure. Expenditure-based exemptions, no point. You might not even say you with 10 million investment, you might get exemptions over 100 million, depending on the period of the years. People have shown that. But if you have investment, it need not be capital expenditure, it can be a revenue expenditure also. You investment-based expenditure you have to give. So these exemptions is done, and very often there again influences are made to give selective exemptions, to certain people, and where the people make this. So I think they have to relook at it, but not to forget, we mustn't drive businesses and investment away from this country. The way it is going, as you say, why should anyone, even a foreigner, come and invest here? Can you give me 3 reasons? Can you tell why should a foreigner come and they are not coming here for love and affection? No. Right? So you have to give reasons and compelling. All are in competing, and don't forget now the monies are going back to the United States because the rates of interest have gone. So there is money being drawn away from all developing frontier countries. So if you are going to get that, we have to compete with the others who are here, and we have to give them some value drivers. And end of the day, if our top institutions are not corrupt, they won't come and deal with the corrupt. If you don't trust a person, you won't interact with him, no sir, you will just move away. So we should be trusted, you know. Trustful in the country, trustworthy is not trusted, trusted is not trustworthy. That has been the problem for us, you know.
Mr. Ranavira, do you want to add anything? Mr. Ranavira, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, what I feel, the tax is not the only criteria. We may be giving tax exemptions. Now, under Strategic Development Project Act, you can give 25 up to 25 years tax exemptions. Now, this one up to 40 years. Now, that is, the time period is too much, but we have to give the weightage for other things as well. The 40 years, definitely, all of us should agree that it is not fair. But at the same time, there should be other attractions also. Now, things like, now they have proposed to charge a registration fee of $2,500 and annual fee of $2,000 for the people who are doing businesses inside. Right? Now, likewise, we can get various other charges also. At the same time, there may be training and change of our people's mentality to do a proper job, to do a proper business, rather than just like some employees, rather than just waiting for the monthly salary. Now, I think the government should go for private joint venture businesses. That is the most important thing, because it is a proven fact that the government can't manage the businesses. No. Definitely they have to go for partnerships, no doubt about that. Yeah. Yeah, here we are just discussing, that's all, at the end.
Right, thank you. I think it's fairly answered to your question, Mr. Paliyakara. Can we move on to Mr. Galage, please?
My question is to the entire panel. Now we are talking about corruption. Corruption is the catchword these days. Can we go through the process of amending the laws, bringing it in, and all that? Do we have the time? We are in a great crisis. Why don't we look at professional negligence? This country, now I think Mrs. Suresh Perra said that we should have a tax policy committee. We have a committee, monetary board. What did they do? They put out $5.5 billion into the market to maintain a parity of 203 rupees on the dollar. Is anyone talking about it now? No. What we should do is what we could do at the moment. I mean, if you go through the process of changing the laws, bringing in all this, nothing happens. And then I have a different question. What is the reason for the inflation? It is money supply or the exchange rate? What is the weightage that you all would give on these two? Because 700 basis points increase in interest rates have more or less destroyed the semi-sector in Sri Lanka. Thank you.
All what you said, sir, comes from the element of corruption. You know, it's nothing else. The simple thing is, first you have to do at the top of the parliament. It's very simple. If they decide, they can bring all those laws. Just in few, only thing they are not ready to do that. First of all the parliamentarians, why can't they make the assets declaration public? Right? The whole thing will stop there. Make the asset declaration public. Then if you want, central bank has not been made independent. That's what happened. So now that again, because your thinking is, you don't want that to happen. Unless if there is a will at the top, only thing that has to, these things won't happen. But this can't go on forever. I can tell you that. Even people came to the streets. Sri Lankans never have come to the streets. No. So it has to come. If you are not going to the root cause for the problem, to my mind, only these two. Incompetent decisions. You don't put proper people to make. Elections you can have for parliamentarians, you have to elect them. But when you select them, no friends and cronies could be selected. No your brother-in-laws and sister-in-laws should be put. You have to select them and they won't come, but if you can't come, get it here, get it from abroad. You know, if they are not prepared, you get it from, you have to give them and select them. And also you have to make stop, you know, you can't say, we can't, there is no time to change corruption. It will go on means that is the end of it. Say go on and see how long we can go. No point talking of anything else unless you stop fraudulent guys coming into the system. Even if they come, you have to have system that the fraudulent activities is stopped. Enough, no, now people can't afford for anything. Everyone at his particular standard of living finds something unaffordable for him but he was able to afford before. When you say at the bottom of the tier, people are stretching and they are skipping meals. At the top of the tier, people are unable to travel. You know, something like that, no? Or if you are able to go for, if you had a reason to travel for 2 reasons, now you don't travel or you stay for 1 reason. You know, people who had 3 meals can't have 3 meals. So if you want to go further, we'll go for that way and see. That's it. No point talking.
Okay, thank you. It's for next opportunity for Mr. Nisanka.
Thanks. Sorry. Thanks. Yeah, my comment and a question of both together is what you brought up, and basically to say that 1st of October there was certain, it's a budget that should have come in on the 1st of October. I guess it's an interim budget, so therefore it's only up to 31st of December. Am I correct? So we haven't even started. So what on earth are we talking about when the government is not interested? I mean, we talk of saying that there is a crisis, that everything is this thing, and yet we go on appointing 38 ministers. If the other problem that came up, to recover the economy, you need then input into the GDP. So there's nothing. There is no policy or any kind of action targeted towards increasing the GDP. None. We are trying to get fuel from somewhere. We are trying to get all the other things that, you know, basically ekes out an existence for this country. And then I quite agree that there must be some measure, because the normal person is paying for the actions, or let's say the results or the actions brought on by corruption. Secondly, I would also like to put this on, since the government, this thing is brought in. If you take corporations, the employees in the corporation sector, not in the government sector also, but specifically in the this thing sector, if you take the CB, what happened in the committee, they said that taxes, allowances, not even approved. How do they arrange that? Simple. You pay taxes. Even the government servants pay taxes. Very simple. It's the taxes are paid by the government. So there is no recovery. In other words, if I am getting 100,000 and my tax is 35,000, the ministry pays the balance 35,000 to offset the tax. So it's just taking from one pocket and putting it into the other pocket. That's how it is. So the strange thing about it is none of these require, I mean, they're not even looked at. And the third aspect that that's the last one, is the question of investments being brought in, especially FDIs, and the question of PPPs. Now, if you take Port City as well as Hambantota, some of these, I know there is another one that is there which I worked on the feasibilities, financial feasibilities. We kept on saying that as against giving, let's say, tax exemptions, earlier there was this thing that you could sell outright, but after Port City had this incident, they brought it into 99 years lease. Hambantota was brought into 99-year lease. Now there was a government change even at that point. And still, what the financial analysis or the feasibility says is basically, one is that an investment comes in, investor comes in if he's going to get a return. I know one of the investors who was trying to come into Port City said, why should I go? There are too many taxes here. I might as well put it into the bank. I can sit and get my money back. But we said that the cutoff point should be between 35 to 50 years. Get the resource back to you. But it still goes. Even changes. Fundamentalism is what it means in that sense. I don't see how we can ever get out of this situation. Because we are looking at it not from all of us can sit down together, but what is at the top is looking at it completely differently. They're just looking at it for, I would say, pure existence until the next election, just to get more, votes so that they can live on forever. Thank you.
Any comments for that? Or I think it was basically a statement what you made.
I don't require a comment.
Okay. Okay. So we have already taken 25 minutes extra. We have one question. We'll give you one more chance. Yes, to Mr. Advadasa. That will be the last question. Of course, you will get an opportunity to speak to them individually during the fellowship.
Yeah, my question goes to Mr. Ranavira. I think it's a bit of a technical question. I'm deviating from the pattern of question that was asked today. Mr. Ranavira, you were mentioning the threshold that we have on personal income tax had been reduced to 1.8 million for a year. I presume it is the wages, even if you're getting a rent income, even if you're getting your interest income, all that is all that are in that, and etc. And you also mentioned that there is no relief on expenditure, even on medical insurance and so on. I presume in that sense, even you purchase equity and security, that won't be there, I guess. My question to you is, if an individual has a portfolio within the year and in the Security and Exchange Commission, if one individual gets a profit or a loss, how would it impact into your personal income tax portfolio, please?
The last one, investment loss.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'll answer. Yeah. Now the first one, what you mentioned, is with relate to the investment relief, the expenditure relief. Expenditure relief is continuing. They have not proposed to remove the reliefs. Now there are two things to arrive the taxable income. From the assessable income, you can deduct the qualifying payments and reliefs, right? These reliefs are available only for individuals. They are not mentioning anything about any change of reliefs. Therefore, the reliefs like expenditure relief up to 1.2 million, it will continue. They will not remove it. Right.
Even the purchase of equity and shares?
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
Yeah. That will continue. Then the other question what you asked about the... Yeah. Now, as per the tax law, the investment, if there's any loss, investment losses, you have to wait. You have to carry forward that loss until you get an investment profit. In that year, you can set off that investment losses against the investment profit. You can carry forward for up to 6 years. right? But if it is a business loss, you can set off that business loss against the investment income even, right? Now the investment losses you can't set off against the business income. You have to carry forward for 6 years. During that 6 years, if there's a profit, you can set off against the investment profit. You asked another question, no? Third one? Yeah. No. Right. Okay. Yeah. Listed shares are the capital gain out of listed shares is exempted. Right? Capital gain out of listed share investment is exempted. It's an investment gain, but it is exempted because of this share transaction levy. There's a separate levy what we are paying as share transaction levy. Therefore, anyway it is exempted. As a result, exempted losses you can set off only against exempted profit. That means there's no tax benefit out of that. No tax benefit.
Okay, thank you so much. So with that, we'll conclude the Q&A because we have already passed 30 minutes. Thank you very much for the resource person. Thank you, Tishan. Sorry.
Can I just ask one question on the same subject?
Yeah.
Now, with regard to the share market, if we take the share market, of course, we have a portfolio of about 15 companies, right? And you are going to make a sale of one portfolio company, right?
Yeah.
Portfolio of a particular company. That could come into a loss or a gain. But of course, we have to consider whether we have actually bought it in that year or the previous year or 5 to 6 years prior. So how are you going to carry if you are going to introduce a cost of profit gain? That was actually the argument we raised with the stock exchange at that time, right? Yeah. That you cannot work it out that way. Yeah. Because this could be a capital loss or gain that has come from a share which you have bought 6-7 years ago.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. As per the law, you can't set off against the previous year's things. You can't take it backward. That is available only in the case of long-term contracts. Now, as an example, Colombo LRT train service suddenly cancelled. They were operating almost about 2 years in Sri Lanka for feasibility studies and all. During that period, they may have recognized some income. At the end, suddenly they cancelled the project. Then as a result, there's a heavy loss in that year. Then in that case, if it is during the construction period, they can take it back to the previous year. You can amend the previous year's tax return. But in any other case, you can't take like that. That's the law. Yeah, what to do? yeah. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. Again, thank you very much for all the resource personnel. I think Engineer Ravi and Engineer Saman, I think we have a lot more to take forward from this today's discussion. Thank you so much again for everybody. Ruan, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Amila, for moderating today's session. I guess now how all of you feel right now. Do you know how much we have to pay for each and every sector? Right. It's not to be smiled, but we have to face this situation. At least as professionals, we have to take certain message to our community. How as professionals we need to choose our leaders, and how we need to go through all processes, and we need to focus on what are the pros and cons of each and every taxation is one part of this situation. So, thanking to the moderator and the speakers today, let me call upon our president and two chairmen of two committees, Engineer Ravi Rupasinghe, Engineer Saman Kandanarachi, and our General Secretary, Engineer Upali, to hand over a token of appreciation to our keynote speaker and three speakers. Mr. Dishan, can we have? Mr. Atula Ranavira. Let me call our moderator, Mr. Amila. Thank you. So everything, good things and hot topics comes to an end. So today let me call upon our General Secretary to give the vote of thanks. Engineer Upali, it's over to you.
Thank you, Engineer Rapo. It is a great privilege for me to propose the vote of thanks upon successfully completion of the most valuable seminar on latest tax reforms in Sri Lanka. Taxes are very evil from a taxpayer point of view of the form of a national point of view, a most valuable input to the national coffers. Mr. Tishan Subasinghe delivered keynote speech started with important factors of taxation. Thank you, sir, for superb presentation. Presenters of Mr. Atula Ranavira, Mr. N.R. Gajendran, and our own past treasurer, Mr. Suresh Pereira, provided many insights with regard to the latest tax reforms in Sri Lanka. I convey on behalf of the OPA our gratitude to all the presenters for their valuable views. Also, I thank moderator Mr. Amila Sukatapala for valued inputs to ensure the success of the seminar. Thank you, Mr. Sukatapala. I thank our president, Mr. Dulce Pereira, who took the leadership to organize this valuable seminar and delivered welcome speech today. Also, I thank two chairpersons, Engineer Saman Kandanarachi and Engineer Ravi Rupasinghe, to organize this valuable seminar and give the more inputs to the society. Today, we have the full house participation. Very especially, I thank all the participants for their participation as well as to give them more information to encourage the speakers. I thank, here we have with us President-elect, and also here with us our treasurer, Mr. Bandhu Kamachi, and we had today 6 past presidents. Immediate past president, Mr. Santa Senrat, Engineer Santa Senrat, Dr. Lalit Vijayatunga, Mr. U.H. Paliyakkara, Engineer Benedict Uliseva, Engineer Nishanka Perra, and Mr. Ruwan Galge. I thank your participation for this event. The sponsors, Friesinger and Nelna, you provided us with ideal platform for the success of this program. Thank you for your assistance. I thank Center Director, Mr. Serinath, and the staff to make this event a wonderful and successful completion. Our compeer, Engineer Ruwan Rakogama, provided the vibrant backdrop to the program, and thank you, my friend. Last but not least, I thank all media personnel, both the print media as well as the electronic media. I humbly request from you all, please give the more publicity to the society, importance of this seminar, the latest tax reforms in Sri Lanka. I conclude inviting all of you for dinner at the restaurant. Enjoy yourselves and have a pleasant evening. Thank you.
Tractor mounters, tractor trailers, fuel tanks, silos and heavy steel fabrication from Thrisinga. Call us North 778656565. Tractor mounters, tractor trailers, fuel tanks, silos and heavy steel fabrication from Thrisinga. Call us North 778656565. Tractor mounters, tractor trailers, fuel tanks, silos and heavy steel fabrication from Thrisinga. Call us North 778656565.